shoe. So what I did expect was the softness. What I didn't expect was the bounce, was the energy return, was the responsiveness that this foam delivers once you start putting the pace through it. So it totally changes the feel of the shoe. So we've just knocked out a marathon workout in this shoe. Now this is the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2, and these are my first impressions. But before we get into it, and if you guys haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And with the specs, so this one is a neutral road racing shoe from Saucony here. So it is the top tier racing shoe in their lineup. So in Australia, you are going to pay a crazy price here. So $420, and it's $275 in the US. Now in the weight, really light package here, 199 grams or 7 ounces. Now that's in my size, that's an 8.5 US men's. Now in the stack, we got 39.5 in the rear, 31.5 in the front, and that's going to give us a 8mm drop. And in the upper, so the material that they're using here is what they call a featherlight knit and mesh. Now I can tell you that the upper itself is incredibly breathable. So it's pretty much translucent. When you put your foot in, you can see straight through it, and the air just flows straight into it. I absolutely love it. We've got a really flimsy heel counter here. Pretty much no structure in it. I can push that straight down. As you can see, there's no padding in the shoe, in the tongue around the heel collar, except for this small pad that they've got on the Achilles. That will just rest on the Achilles to take or attempt to take any irritation out of this bit of a heel flare that it's got here. But you can see by the shape of the shoe here of how much the heel sits right back in the shoe, and how much that angles in, and then how that Achilles flare comes up. So that might cause some irritation for some people. Now with our tongue, it's incorporated into the shoe, so a bit like a booty design. It's a stretch knit tongue, but it's just sewn into the sides of the shoe. With our lacing system, we've got really stretchy laces, so they're the same laces I believe that they've used on the Endorphin Pro and the Speed, if you're familiar with those. They don't have eyelets on the shoe, but they've got these little lace loops that are stitched into the side of the tongue. Now it is a bit tricky to get a good lockdown through the middle of the shoe, just because these laces are so stretchy, and they tend, when you tie them up the first time, they can loosen off because they've got so much elastic in the laces, and then you just need to go back and adjust. But after a little bit of fiddling around, you can sort that out. Now the lockdown in this shoe is excellent. So I was a bit worried by this shape of this heel here, of how far back it sits in and how much it curls up. So pretty worried about how the heel sat now. I thought I was going to get some irritation, but I didn't. The heel just pretty much locks in. Not too bad for the midfoot, but in the fit, this is coming up short. So that's a bit disappointing. So it's not like my toe is butting up the end of it, but I would like a little bit more room at the top. So I've probably got about half a thumb's length at the top. And the issue with that is there's quite a lot of volume in the toe box as well. So the trade-off here is if you go up half a size, you're going to get probably the right length, but you're just going to be swimming around with the volume of the toe box. So it's a bit of a tricky one here. Yeah, you can opt to have it a little bit short with that toe box volume dialed in, or you go long and you're going to be swimming. So it's going to come down to what you guys prefer. Build quality, excellent though. No issues whatsoever. And step-in comfort, well, this shoe, you walk around in this shoe and it's just like a marshmallow. So it's a bit wobbly, a bit all over the place, but yeah, it's got some real wow factor. And in the outsole, so the rubber that Saucony have historically used, that XT900 rubber, was the Achilles heel. It was no good in the wet, and thankfully for this shoe, they don't have that rubber compound on the bottom of this shoe. So it's something new on the bottom here. It's super thin and it's really soft. So it sort of reminds me of that light traction that they've got on the bottom of the new Adios Pro 4 by Adidas. Similar to that, but it's certainly really sticky, really soft. So it pretty much just doesn't take anything away from the ride. It pretty much just adds to the ride, so complements the midsole perfectly. Good rubber coverage though, pretty much a couple of segments in the forefoot, as you can see there, and in the high wear areas at the back. Plenty of exposed midsole foam through the middle and through the rear of the shoe, and you can see some big cutouts, so some cutouts through the lateral side here in the midfoot, and also a bit of a crevice through the middle of the shoe there. Now in the performance, This grip, so I've only tried it in the dry conditions, but it was so sticky. So maybe too sticky, because I can feel it ripping off the road sort of as I'm coming around the corner, or as I'm just changing through the gate, or if I'm just sort of going sideways on the road, I can feel this grip just sort of ripping off the tar. So it might be a little bit too sticky, but I'm predicting that this is going to be excellent in the wet too. I'm glad to see that Saucony have really upgraded this rubber compound. And durability wise, too early to tell, but I'm not too concerned with outsole durability in a race shoe. And in the midsole, brand new foam. So they call this one IncrediRun. Now, 2 layers of this IncrediRun. We've got a top layer, and then under that we've got a full length slotted carbon plate. So it's more like a standard carbon plate until you get up near the forefoot, and it's got these slots in it. So pretty much sort of mirroring the toes as well. Maybe just to give that forefoot a little bit of flexibility, just so it's not too rigid. But rigidity wise, it's still a pretty stiff shoe. Not the stiffest carbon plated shoe on the market. So there's a little bit of flex there, but under that carbon plate, that bottom big layer of this IncrediRun. So this, yeah, just IncrediRun foam. You've probably heard it already before, but it is so soft and so compliant. Now, in the geometry department, we have got a pretty aggressive forefoot rocker here. It's pretty late in the shoe, but the angle of the toe spring is like nothing that I have felt before. And it might have something to do with how soft the foam is in the rear. So when you actually stand in it, I actually feels like the angle of the toe spring feels like my toes are almost pointing in the air, that this toe spring is so aggressive. But yeah, super aggressive late rocker here. It is been slightly adjusted from last year's version, which I wasn't, or sorry, the previous version. I wasn't real happy with the geometry of that shoe. I thought it was too aggressive and too late. I think they've pulled it back a little bit here, because I can certainly utilize the geometry in this shoe better than that previous version. And in the ride, yes, you've probably guessed it already, soft. So it's incredibly soft through the heel, but the more pace that you put through it, it actually firms up quite nicely. And then you get surprisingly a lot of bounce out of the shoe, because I didn't think a foam so soft would deliver such bounce or such energy return. And also turns into a bit of a responsive poppy ride too once you get going in the shoe. So it's a totally different experience if you're jogging in the shoe, but when you wind it up, put the pace through it, it comes alive. So yeah, the foam firms up, it turns responsive, you can feel the bounce, you can feel the pop, you get onto this rocker and away you go. It's a really fast shoe. And it did take me a few kilometers, probably 5 kilometers, to work out what was going on with the shoe. So I did take this shoe out today for a marathon workout, so 2 by 8 kilometers. For the first 5 kilometers, I just couldn't work out the geometry. I said a really aggressive toe spring made me feel like my toes are in the air, and I felt like if I was trying to get on to utilize this geometry, the leg turnover was just going too fast for my marathon pace. And then if I sat back on the shoe, so sat back on the heel a little bit too much, then I would just go too slow. So I was sort of caught in the middle and fighting with the shoe until about 5 kilometers in, and then I worked out sort of where to land through the middle of the shoe, and yeah, everything started clicking from there. But overall, once you get used to the shoe, it is quite nice. So yeah, beautiful softness, beautiful energy return, and it can get a bit wobbly though around the corners, so it's definitely not going to be for everyone. Certainly big, heavy heel strikers or heavier runners, I think you're going to bottom this foam out really, really easily. So there's a lot to like in the shoe. Love the breathability of the shoe, love the lightweight, and also really enjoy the ride as well. And what I'm still figuring out in the shoe is certainly the geometry. So just trying to work out what paces it's really comfortable at for the way that I run, or the way I like to run. Is it best for marathon pace, or is it better suited to the faster stuff? I tend to think it's probably going to be suited to the faster stuff. Also wondering how long this new super soft IncrediRun foam is going to hold up for. So yeah, really curious about the durability. And dislikes, certainly the price, $420. That's crazy. And also the fit of the shoe. So it's just a bit off. As I said, It's too short for a normal size, but then if I go up half a size, there's just too much volume in the shoe. And just wrapping up my first impressions here with the shoes. So what I did expect was the softness. What I didn't expect was the bounce, was the energy return, was the responsiveness that this foam delivers once you start putting the pace through it. So it totally changes the feel of the shoe. So it's quite enjoyable once you get used to it. As I said, it took me a little while to work out what was going in the shoe, but once I've worked it out, very enjoyable. It's a fast shoe. I do think it is the best Saucony race shoe that they have put out, even though I'm still trying to work out the geometry. Do I think the shoe's going to be for everyone? No, I don't. I think if you're a heavier runner, big heavy heel striker, you're going to really bottom out this heel because it is so soft. But saying that, I was booming down some downhills today, really grinding into this heel, and I didn't bottom it out. All I was getting was like this unbelievable bounce and energy return out of the heel. So time will tell. Lots of miles to go in this one. I just wish the sizing was more dialed in. That's about it. But anyway, guys, any questions you've got regarding this shoe, how it relates to anything else, there'll be plenty of comparison reviews with this shoe with other race shoes coming very shortly in the future. But thank you for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.